All right, what is up, everybody?
What the fuck you been?
Yeah, I know it's been a minute. It's been a long time, guys. But it's I have nothing like you know, uh, super bad to report. It's just I've been busy with work, man. I just been working, working quite a bit of overtime because we got a family vacation coming in July, so trying to stack up. So got to take all the kids and the wife. We're going on a vacation. So I just been busy with work, but I'm here now. I'm here now. And so first of all, we talking about this finale, man. Enough of that. We talking about the finale of Gods of the Arena. This is episode 6 entitled Bitter End. And let me tell you, I'm going to say it right now. This is a top 5 episode of all of the Spartacus seasons, all the Spartacus, the world, the universe of Spartacus verse. I would say you got Kill Them All from Blood and Sand. You got the episode before, I can't think of the name, the episode before Kill Them All, Victory from War of the Dam. And then I would put this one at number 4 as a top 5. And so I gave this one a 5 out of 5. So I thought this was a great episode. And basically the plot of this episode, man, it deals with Badiatus. He's seeking revenge for all that has fallen upon him, and he recruits his gladiators and Salonians to the cause. And they're dealing with the opening of the new arena. Its arrival has come, which will promise spectacles of combat and blood. So we always love that part of the show. But so going into this episode, there were a lot of things that needed to be cleared up, and I thought the pacing of the episode, they did a great job doing that because, we had threads such as Vedius, Tullius, of course, because both Gannicus and Badiatus believe he is the villain behind the death of Tullius and Melita. So we got to get rid of them or handle those situations. Also, we have to find a way of getting us into the games. So there's a lot of moving parts going on. And I remember, going in wondering man, are they going to be able to pull this off? And like I said, I think the pacing in the episode was masterful. They were able to get it all done to the point where it made sense. And it was a complete episode. I mean, I believe they stuck the landing. They landed this plane perfectly, and that's why I gave this a 5 out of 5. So let's talk about some of the things in the episode. Some of the, I'm not going to cover all major things, but just some of the things that stuck out to me, and then just about how did they enact their how did Badiatus enact his revenge, and how the bitter end, how the episode concluded. So we'll start, of course, this episode starts with Tullius's funeral, or not Tullius's, but Titus's funeral. And of course, oh man, and his funeral, there's a lot of elites from Rome and friends of his that come through. But, one unwelcome guest that shows up is that pussy boy Vedius. He shows up, and of course, he's there for Tullius, and he's seeking, he's speaking on the contract for Gannicus. He's like, yo, it's been, I believe they said 8 days. There's like a mourning process. I've given you the allotment of days. I'm here on business. And, what's up with Gannicus? And my man Badiatus lets him know from the jump. Not, first of all, fuck you doing here. 2, ain't no way Gannicus is for sale. He ain't ever going to be for sale. Get your monkey ass out of here. So Vedius, he goes about his way, because he's basically Tullius's bitch. And so we go to Gannicus, paying a visit to Enemeus, and he comes in to, give him his condolences. There's some awkward conversation. He talks about telling Enemeus she loved you above all others, as if he didn't know that. I mean, of course, knowing what we know, that definitely would have gave me pause. I know that. Why would you say that? But
you don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Enemeus is none to the wiser on that. And he even tells him, she loved you like a brother. But we know she may have loved him like a brother. And if you want to use those terms, she loved him in a Cersei, Jaime Lannister brotherly, sisterly relationship. But yes, she loved him as a brother, but there was a piece of her that loved him, that had love for him in other ways. We saw that when it was going down. We also have a meeting between Gannicus and Badiatus, and he basically lets him know you're not going to be sold, where Gannicus was all for it because he wants to be the one to take out Tullius. And Badias is telling like, yo, you're not going to be able to get too close to him. And when you get the opportunity, it's going to be years. He's going to be well guarded, and you're going to have to go against my guys, and because at the end of the day, he's a Lanista and he knows how good Gannicus is. It could be a real big problem for him. So Badiatus decides to put a mulligan in that plan, even though both of them feel like he is the villain responsible for the death of Tullius, Badias' father, and of course Melita, Anameus' wife, and someone very dear to Gannicus. So he tells him, we're gonna pump the brakes on that. I got something else up my sleeve. I got a plan. I'm working on a master plan. And so sit tight, my boy. We're gonna get the revenge. And so that new plan, the first piece of that plan, is none other than Salonius. And part of that is the first move is to meet with Vettius and Tullius. And, he goes on to inform them that, hey, Badiatus, he's spearing Gannicus out of town. And if he gets him out of there, it's going to be impossible for you, Tullius, to collect Gannicus. And my man Tullius crashes. I mean, he nearly crashes out. He yokes him up, and, he's about to just end it right then and there. But then he decides, you know what? Why don't you go now to see to me, even though Salonius, he's been working on Salonius, basically, like Salonius has kind of been softening up to him. A piece of me would have been like, yeah, this is too easy. This guy's coming to me all of a sudden. I know where they're gonna be. Let me take you there. But all right, we'll go with it. So he does take them there. And what do you know? They're in a dark alley. I mean, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder could clearly see this setup is coming, but they show up. Badiatus and crew pop up. The crew pops up. We got Gannicus, Barca, and Emmaus, and what's going down. They go to work. They start taking his boys out. Of course, leaving Tullius and Vettius alive. He left those guys alive. And so what we get, we'll start with what happens to Tullius, and then we'll double back and go back to what happens to Vettius. But Tullius, they bag him up and they take him to the arena, and basically they going in on him. They want to confess. We know what you did. Confess! We know what you did. And Tullius is like, I had nothing to do with your father. It makes no sense. Me and him agreed to a business deal. Why would I want to kill him? Which obviously makes perfect sense. Like, I mean, his case, it's a perfect case. Like, why would I want to kill your pops? Me and him had a deal, but they ain't trying to hear that. And so they go all Julius Caesar on him. They just start poking him up. And then he gets the ultimate end, man. They put him in the arena, basically like making him part of the foundation. And they basically put him in the wall and block him out. And he's going to be at the arena, but he'll never see what goes on in there. And it's like, damn. I mean, in the words of Rick, it was cold-blooded. But yeah, he's out of here. He's out of here. So Tullius is off the board, which leaves Vettius. So the whole thing with Vettius is basically Salonius works out a deal and basically tells him, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go down there and you're going to tell the people that Tullius is away on business and, he can't be here today. And then also, you're going to give me all your men and you're going to leave with them. And if you don't, well, you know what's going to happen. So Salonius now has entered the realm of the Lanista. And the thing about it is it gets revealed. Salonius is making his own moves. He is tired of being essentially being Badias's toady, being his punching bag, doing what he says, and not getting any love and respect. Like Salonius, say whatever you will. Salonius was down with him. He goes hard body for Badiatas, but Badiatas doesn't, man. Like he says all the good things, but like anytime he gets pissed off, he just insults Salonius. Like in this episode, I think he flat out tells him, because there's an argument between them on what to do. And Salonius is like, man, you's out here playing them away games, man. Playing them away games, which you shouldn't be messing around with, people that have a higher station than you. And Badiatas goes back at him, you forever to be bowing and scraping. That's why no woman, why you can't get no bitches, no woman wants to be with you. And you could tell that just stung, that cut deep. And then of course, Badiatas like, oh, I'm sorry, I was getting a little emotional. But no matter what, that stuff starts to sting. And every one of those is a cut. And he cut him too many times to where the shit just didn't heal. And so he took and the crazy thing about it is he decided to, okay, I'm going to take your advice then. I'm going to make my own moves. And that's what he did. So we get from friends to foes now. These two, and it lines up their relationship from Blood and Sand. Like we find out really how they got there. And it totally makes sense. And that's what the show does as far as when prequels, and I'll talk about that in my wrap up. But yeah, so these two are now enemies now. It is later revealed, of course, because we're in the Primus. So the House of Badiatas is in the Primus. Like I said, all is revealed. They let them know. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. So they let them know because they're waiting for Tullius. And of course, like I just said, Vettius tells them the story, and then he leaves and tells them, I'm leaving my men with Salonius, which that beefens up Salonius's men. That means, he has way more men than the House of Badiatas, And so you see the betrayal. You're like, you see the betrayal. But like I said, if you played close attention, he's been just treating Salonius like shit, and everybody has a limit. And now he's reaping what he sowed when it comes to his former friend Salonius. So, of course, before the game starts, there are executions to be had, and those executions involve some runaway slaves. And of course, our girl Diona was amongst the Forsaken. And this is a very powerful scene. There were no words. But the performances between the actress who played Navia and the actress that played Diona were, it was amazing. And just the tension because she was last. God, I couldn't imagine that. They're just sitting there and you got to wait. But something that's also very telling in that is, what this series does is, like I said, it leads our characters to who they become. And there's a point, like I talk about Lucretia, like in this series, you see she's she's in charge of slaves, but she still has humanity left. And even in this scene, there's some humanity left because Badiatas is given the opportunity to save Diona. Like they tell him, hey, that's one of yours. Hey, if you like, you can take her and, delve out the punishment that you see fit. And Lucretia's looking to Badiatas to just give her a pass, but he goes, no, this is to set an example. So, and you can see Lucretia didn't want it to happen, but she can't do anything about it. She's not the head of the house. And so, like I said, that scene between those two, there were no words that were spoken, but everything that needed to be said was said. And like I said, unfortunately, Diona has passed away. And so we move on to the finale of the Primus, the main event, and that involves what's left of the House of Badiatas. We're short of man. We don't have Barca because Barca was injured during, the taking out of Vettius and Tullius's men. He was stabbed, and so he's out. He's on injury reserve. He can't be a part of the action. So that leaves Crixus, Gannicus, and all the other guys who, like I said, they're really outnumbered. And on top of that, they're fighting in a battle royale style, and it's a ring of fire. And once the action gets to going, I mean, it's bloody satisfaction. I mean, you got guys out there really out there fucking making names for themselves. You know, Crixus is that boy now. Like he even got the haircut. And I think this is the best look for Crixus. I didn't like his look in War of the Damned. You know, I get why they did that. There's a practical reason, and then there was a reason show wise why they did that. But I enjoyed this look, but like he's that boy now, man. He's like he's blood and sand Crixus right then and there. He even talks to Gannicus before it starts. Hey, don't be dying too quick, because me and you, we still got to get busy in a proper contest. And so he wants to be that champion. So of course the fighting gets going, and then of course there's some controversy going on because you got Dagon and Asher. And Dagon, those two just start fighting because it's one of those, it's my life or your life. One of us got to go. The house can't keep us both. And, you know, Asher's like going on with the program, but he's like, fuck it. I got to take this guy out. And of course, he does it in the Asher kind of way, hits him with some pocket sand, and then takes his ass out. He's out of here. So Dagon's gone. And it's to the point where like they're laughing at him, like Salonia's throwing shade, talking about, man, these guys, he can't even keep their self in line where they're killing their own self, you know, their own teammates or whatever. And so you know, as it goes on, the killing keeps going on, and it comes basically down to Calidus, who or not Calidus, Calidus. I think that's his name. The big ass dude, man. You know who I'm talking about. But it comes down to him and Crixus and Gannicus. It kind of reminded me a lot of Blood and Sand when Crixus and Spartacus fought Theocles. And it kind of ended the same way where, you know, the other guy got all the glory for it and Crixus didn't. But essentially, they're going back and forth. They're fighting. And there comes a point where Crixus is dead to rights, and Gannicus comes in and saves him, and he ends up getting knocked out of the ring. So it comes down to Gannicus, and Gannicus and him are going to war, and Gannicus finishes him with a Mortal Kombat fatality, you know, basically destroys his fucking face, sodomizes him with a fucking arrow spear, and just destroys his face, but takes him out, and Gannicus is victor. And he's given the ultimate price. Because the win was so spectacular, they never seen anything like it before. He is given his freedom, and you know, Gannicus decides to leave the Ludus. I mean, to the point where even Badiatus told him, "Man, you can come and go as you please as a free man. Just I want you to fight for me." But you know, he told him, "No, I'm good." And you know, he's given the Rudius. I think that's what it's called. He's given it to him by Enemaeus, who's so happy for him. Man, like I said, Enemaeus, man, to have a friend, a brother like Enemaeus is just a blessing. And that guy, he's so happy for his homie. Like, man, you got your freedom, man. Take care of yourself. And it's sad watching them go away. And of course, Crixus gets the necklace from Gannicus. And you know, he tells him, "You're the champion now. You know, you got the juice now." You know, and so you know, and basically Lucretia and you know, Lucretia and Badiatus say, "Hey, we'll put all of our, you know, put everything into Crixus. You know, Crixus is going to be the champion. We're going to put everything behind him and build the program around Crixus." And there it is. That ends the series. And so I was talking earlier, speaking on like prequels, and I think this show does an amazing job with prequels. Like a lot of the times where prequels fail, they try to course correct characters. It messes things. They often leave more questions than answers, because like a good prequel, it brings you into like, well, how did this happen? Or, you know, or how did this person become this person? You know, because I love like Crixus' story. They didn't start him out as a badass. He gradually became that guy. You know, the same with Badiatus and Lucretia. You know, you saw glimpses of who they were and the turn it actually then you saw it happen, and that's what I said. The show did a great job of that. I think, like I said, the prequels, they oftentimes, these modern prequels, they leave you with more questions. They create more, actually create other plot holes, and I think this show did a great job of just doing that. And yeah, that's it. So we'll be moving on to the next series. I think I'm gonna do something different though. I think I'm actually going to look at reviewing War of the Damned, um, or I may do Vengeance, and I'm gonna save Blood and Sand for last. But yeah, we'll be moving on to the next series. I've said I'm gonna be doing some other shows. Like I know I'm gonna be doing Raising Canaan. I'll probably do Daredevil as well. And I'm gonna try to get out here and start getting to the movies. I'm gonna start doing some movie reviews as well, and then just other videos to try to keep. I hope, like, other stuff I'm working on. I'll leave it at that. Other stuff I'm working on, other videos. So I'm working on a video right now. Top movie heroes, my top movie heroes. And so I'm gonna do a video over that. And so that's what we got coming. So all right, guys, like I always say, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes, or a whole damn video, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to view my content. If you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe, smash the like, and get in the comments. Also, hype the video if that's available. It helps small channels like myself get out the algorithm. And so with that being said, everybody, it's your boy P signing off, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.